Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome from the UK. So we're going to talk very quickly about the COVID and how to manage it and how to lead perhaps organisations in these terrible times. The reason why I'm with you is that this wonderful chap, Nana, was one of my best students at the university several years ago, and he and I have been in contact, and I said I would do a talk with you. So the world is going through terrible change. Last year it was bad enough. We had Brexit in this country, and of course we have global meltdown. We've had asteroids almost hitting us. It has been change on top of change on top of change, and now pandemic as well. So let's hear something from this guy, Albert Einstein. He said, in the midst of every crisis, there is great opportunity. And I've said to many of my MBAs, the next 6 to 9 months is an incredible opportunity. It's tragic what has happened, but the opportunity for change is phenomenal. This is the greatest opportunity you'll ever have in your working lives, probably. And we're going to look at some change through the lenses of communication, adaptability, resilience, and empathy. This guy, Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest, he never said it. He never said that. He spent most of his life saying, I never said that. And so it will be with COVID. It is not the strongest, the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is those most responsive and adaptive to change. So I'd like to introduce a friend of mine and a colleague, a guy called Eddie Obeng. He's a change management guru, written many books. Look him up on the internet, you'll get him immediately. He's also a very good helicopter pilot, and he and I fly in his helicopter occasionally. But Eddie wrote a very simple book a few years ago. It's one of those books that it was so simple, it was genius. And one of the models that he had in his book is a model I'm going to share with you now. It's only 2 words. It's what and it's how. We don't know what we're doing, we do know what we're doing, we don't know how to do things, and we do know how to do things. So let's take this simple model and see where it takes us with the COVID-19. Now, there are 4 types of change that are going on in the world at the moment. There is painting by numbers, there is making a movie, there is quest, and there is fog. So let's start with the easiest one, the one where everyone wants to be at the moment, and all the politicians want to be, but they can't be. And that is painting by numbers. This is where everyone knows what to do, and they know how to do it. Wouldn't it be perfect if we had the perfect answer to COVID-19? But we haven't, and we won't have it probably for another year. So in the meantime, we're in one of the 3 other boxes. People don't like it. People get angry because they're scared, but we are in one of the other 3 boxes. Let's look at our journey towards the green box. So the green box, by the way, we call it painting by numbers. I don't know if you're listening in Nigeria, if you have these things, you give them to your children. And if they put the right color with the right paint, then everything looks wonderful and you end up with a picture. You know what you're doing, you know how to do it, you end up with an outcome. But very few changes, including COVID, start there. So let's look at fog. That's where we were basically November, December of last year. No one knew what the hell was going on, and no one knew really how to deal with it. And we were in a fog, and it was like walking in a fog. Should we close down the borders? Should we stop anyone coming in? Should we stop anyone leaving? What should we do? Should we socially distance? Where should we wear masks? What is this virus? Is it going to spread to Europe? Is it going to spread to Africa? No one knew. And so we all had to take steps in a fog. We couldn't see where we were going. Now, if you fall off the edge in a fog, you could be very high up. You have a long way to fall. That's bad. And so what we talk about is taking small steps and experimenting. Try and find out where the path is in front of you. Because if you get it wrong, you're going to fall a long way, and that is bad. So being in the fog means small steps, exploring edges. Very frustrating. If you start to move out of the fog, you have two ways you can go. You can either go into quest, or you can go into making a movie. And then ultimately, of course, painting by numbers. Let's talk about quest. Quest is where you actually do know what you're doing, you just don't know how to do it. And the answer on that one for the pandemic is the clinical trials that are going on at the moment. What we have is a lot of companies, they know exactly what they want. They want a vaccine for COVID-19. End of discussion. That's what we all want. How we're going to do it, we don't really know. And so lots of clinical trials are going on, and people try things, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. If they work, they go on to the next phase of the trials and see if that works. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's all about repeated failures. Now, I use that word because most people don't like the word failure. People don't like these quest projects because mostly it's about failure. But failure is okay, providing you learn and it moves you to the next step. Here's an example. Helix, a Cambridge company set up by Agra co-inventor David Brown, so it can't be hard, has repurposed its AI system for developing drugs. I've been doing this for 45 years, and I've got 3 drugs to market, he told the BBC. But AI is proving much faster. It has only taken weeks to gather all the data we need. The algorithms ran over Easter. We'll have the output in the next 7 days. They hope to go for drug candidates in May and already into clinical trials. Now, whether or not it succeeded, I don't know, but this is all about fast failure. Making a movie. Now, this is where actually you don't know what you want, you don't know what you're doing, but perhaps you might know how to do it. Now, you call it making a movie. If you buy yourself a camera or movie camera, fine, you can work out how to use it all, but what are you going to do with it? What are you going to create? And that's the word. It's all about creativity. If we take this guy, he's a guy called Ridley Scott, one of the great Hollywood movie directors, because the biggest risk on any film is one person, the director. It's not the stars, they're easy, they're actors, you can manage them. It's not the scenery, you can organize that. It's not the sound, although we had troubles this morning with this system. It's not the cameraman. You go to Hollywood, you've got the best cameraman, the best soundmen, the best everything. What they're waiting for is a script, but what they're really waiting for is a director to take that script and make it into a movie. Same script, different directors, you end up with very, very different movies. Let me give an example from Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott, when he was a young director, first time, big time Hollywood, he made a film called Blade Runner in the 1980s, and it was a flop. It was a disaster. Why? Well, he lost control of the budget. Eventually, about halfway through shooting, the production company fired him, and they gave it to a safe pair of hands, another director, to finish the film. When I watched the film, I thought, actually, this film is genius, but some of it just doesn't seem to work. It's like it'd been made by 2 people, and it had. It was a mess, financially a disaster. Ridley Scott, though, went on to other things like Alien and Aliens and all of those good things and made millions and millions and millions and became a very, very powerful Hollywood director. But always he said, I want to go back to my original film, Blade Runner, and re-edit it the way I would have done it. In the end, after a lot of legal work, they actually gave him all the material. They made no more new material. It had been sitting there for 8 years anyway, but they allowed him now to cut it the way that he wanted it to be. And it was released as a second version of the film. And it was actually called The Director's Cut. And it was a great success. By the way, he then recut it a 3rd time, same material, but CGI'd it to make it look even more modern. This was a film that he loved. Same script, same acting, same material, cut in different ways. So the power of the director in change is very powerful, and directors cannot prove that their film will be a success. They have a vision of how it might be. Now, as a result, by the way, it's now turned into a franchise, 2048 or whatever it is. We do have to be careful with our directors. Sometimes the director may have lousy vision and don't follow him. We've seen it with Mr. Trump, who said, I have a vision. I know how to deal with COVID-19. We all inject ourselves or drink disinfectant. Don't do it. It's going to kill you. So the choice of director on change is key. Are they good communicators? Are they adaptable? Have they got resilience? Have they got empathy? Are they believable? And in the end, are they right? And you'll never know if they're right until the end. So movie projects changes are very, very frightening for a lot of people. What we're trying to do is move from this fog into making a movie. And then perhaps if we're not going that way, having a strong leader with a vision, perhaps we're going into multiple failure mode. But both ways, we're ultimately trying to get into painting by numbers. And that's where we're beginning to get by November, December of this year. We will be able to say, we have this vaccine. This is what it is. This is how it works. And people will start to think that, hey, the crisis is beginning to end.